All right, the Port of Los Angeles, the largest port in the United States, is caught in the crossfire of the U.S. China trade war. China trade accounts for roughly 60% of its traffic, and this latest round of tariffs, effective September 1st, is prompting concern from the port's executive director. Joining us now to discuss is Jessica Smith, live from Washington, D.C. Jess, the president putting pressure on American companies to move away from China. How is that likely to impact activity at the port?
Well, I talked to the executive director of the Port of Los Angeles about this, and he said, to put it simply, less cargo means fewer jobs. So if these companies were to try to move their supply chains out of China, which we know is going to be very difficult, but if the president were to try to force these companies to do that, then the director says that would mean job losses when it comes to warehouse workers, truck drivers, administrators, just this whole industry that works around moving this cargo. He is very concerned about the uncertainty overall, the uncertainty that he's faced for the past 17 months as this trade war with China has gone back and forth. He says exports have gone down while imports have increased. And he says U.S. importers are holding off on hiring. He says they're not buying cargo trucks that they may need, or they're holding off on building warehouses. So he's seeing the impact of that uncertainty in his industry. Another interesting point that he brought up is so many retailers really front-loaded. They work to get in their shipments before the next round of tariffs hit last year. And now there's only about 1% vacancy in the warehousing district around the port. So there's not a lot of room to put this stuff if these shipments were to come in, if they were going to try to ship a bunch of stuff from China to try to beat this next round of tariffs that's in the works. They don't have a lot of space to put it anywhere. So that's a problem that they're facing, that they're trying to deal with as they figure out what they're going to do, as even more tariffs are set to go into effect in September and December. Miles.
Yeah, physics, fluid dynamics, all of that stuff getting in the way there. Jessica Smith, live from Washington, D.C. Andy, kind of more of these real-world stories are starting to come out. You just mentioned a state you care about a lot. In Maine, we've seen some impacts from tariffs there over the summer, and it does seem like even though the tariffs have had a little bit of a lag, the impacts are very material, and one day this stuff is going to be clearly seen in the data.
Yeah, it starts to catch up. You're talking about lobster exports to China from the state of Maine, and they've really fallen off a cliff. There's a story from the AP yesterday about that. And you're right, and I was just up there, and people were growling about it and grousing. There was, to your point that it's a little bit of a lag and it slowly develops, and it's on the margin at first, but then it starts to be a big problem. And already people up there were talking about trying to export to Dubai instead of China. But the Chinese market is so huge for Maine lobsters, for instance. No way Dubai or any number of countries going to make up for that volume. And I think the real pain is going to be felt in the second half of the year, in Q4 actually, and into 2020.
Yeah, definitely as you work through some of these inventories. I was talking to somebody this weekend that imports a food commodity from China, and he had to go and get extra warehouse space and then got kicked out of the warehouse space because he's going to be holding it there for too long, and they want people that are going to have more churn. He said warehouse prices have just gone up in like an escrow fashion that he has not seen before. And that's getting passed on right to the consumer. He's not eating that.
Now, President Trump would say, of course, there's going to be a price to pay for this reset. But you have to ask President Trump, net, is there going to be an ROI? Because, okay, you're saying there's a cost. We all acknowledge there's a cost.
Yeah. But
is the cost going to exceed the benefit? So far, the cost is exceeding the benefit. So the benefit better come at some point pretty soon, and it better be pretty darn big.
And we've said it a million times, it just seems like one of these things. We're not going to be able to go back to the way it was.
Yes.
Right? Even if Donald Trump does not win the next presidential election, the next president doesn't just get to undo all this.
Yeah, I mean, all the Democrats are, want to do something on trade as well.
It's
they
only
just have
style,
a different
not
approach to
substance.
it.